As Iran and Israel continue to exchange a volley of missiles, the question now arising is how big will the conflict grow? Well, according to an Axios report citing two officials, Israel has asked the Trump administration to join its war against Iran in order to decimate Tehran's nuclear program. The Trump administration has, however, distanced itself from Israel's operation, a direct attack on Iran, even if the U.S. involvement is limited to bombing a single site, would pull the U.S. directly into the war. Now, as per the report, an idea raised by Israeli officials with the United States is to jointly take out Fordo, an Iranian nuclear facility carved deep underground in a mountain. While Israel specifically lacks bunker-buster bombs and large bomber aircraft needed to destroy Fordo enrichment site. Only the United States has both the capacity and the capability located at a flying distance to Iran. Now, Israel's fear that if the Fordo nuclear facility remained operational, even after the airstrikes, it would fail in its mission. Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Yashir Leiter, has said that Israeli operation against Iran was supposed to be completed with the elimination of Fordo. But so far, Israeli strikes have caused limited damage to the site. Now, President Donald Trump has warned Iran that it would experience the full strength of U.S. military if it attacks the United States. But he has also reiterated that Washington had nothing to do with Israel's strikes on Tehran's nuclear and intelligence facilities. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that he is deploying fighter jets and other assets to the West Asia amid an escalating conflict between Iran and Israel. Now, Starmer said that UK was moving assets to the region, including jets, and that is for contingency support. The UK leader said that he had spoken with both Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, UK's move comes as Iran told the United States and UK that it would retaliate if the countries aid Israel in attacks amid fears that the West Asia will descend into war. The state media had said that any country which participated in repelling Iranian attacks on Israel would be subject to Iranian forces targeting all regional bases of the complicit government. While the Iranian threat also included France, which had reiterated its stance, suggesting that Israel had the right to defend against the attacks. Earlier, we were joined by experts around the globe on the ongoing Israel-Iran conflict, and listen to what they had to say.
One of the reasons why I think Israel, and I have to tell you, here in Israel, there's a lot of Israelis who've been, it's beyond their expectations as to what they've carried out inside of Iran at this point, not just hitting the nuclear plants, but also hitting the Iranian guards, taking out their main commandos, the head of military. I mean, they've got this intelligence which is just beyond expectations, clearly on the ground. They had at one time drones which are flying across Iran, if they're not already happening right now, plus Israeli planes, Israeli fighter jets inside the Iranian airspace. And the reason why you're seeing this right now is because that Iran, for many, many years, built up this sort of outer zone protection for it, i.e. Hezbollah in Lebanon, and obviously the Assad regime in Syria, Hamas and Islamic Jihad inside of Gaza with their long-range missiles, and Iran always felt protected.
One thing that is very important is that to always remind ourselves that it was Israel that attacked Iran and invaded Iranian territory by unprovoked and illegitimate kind of the war imposition. So it's very important to know that it's Iran's right for self-defense and based on all international regulation and rules.
Yeah, that's been a great question, and I posted about this before. The idea that Israel needs a single bunker-busting bomb dropped by a B-2 bomber, it can't do that. Israel has shown in the last 20 months that it has the ability to hit things at deep depth doing something called drilling, where they take a bunker buster munition that might not be able to hit the depth of like Fordo, which is 80 feet plus 200 feet underground, but they have a technique called drilling where they can just drill into the ground because they have air superiority. They don't need a one-shot bunker busting munition. They can, like they just killed Mohammed Sinwar in Gaza, they used 50 bunker busting munitions in a matter of 30 seconds all around the site in which the terrorist leader at that time in Gaza was at. You know, it's beyond my ability to know if they can truly hit at that depth. And again, the goal, which is for a military guy, matters. Israel has stated its goal is to roll the nuclear program back, right? The ultimate goal is to change the Islamic regime's behavior, not to pursue a nuclear weapon. It isn't to destroy, which leads you to even the sensitivity, the dangers in which the IAEA has been reporting on. Like, if you hit a nuclear site, there is a chance of basically nuclear contamination, as these are centrifuges that are actually trying to enrich uranium. So it's a really complex operation to say, well, can they hit at that depth or not? Of course, you could seal these sites in, basically encapsulate them or basically cover them up, right? If you can't get to the depth. I've learned it a lot with Israel's operation is never underestimate what Israel can do, even with the technologies it has. So it's not a yes directly to your question, but it's also not a no, I'm not saying they can't do it without other capabilities.
Look, I think this will go on for some days. I think it's very clear that the Israelis are really inflicting significant damage on Iran's military infrastructure. Clearly, they've taken out substantial aspects of Iran's nuclear weapons projects, and they've killed significant numbers of Iran's top military leaders. Iran, in retaliation, is now starting to strike at Israel with significant numbers of ballistic missiles, some of which are getting through because they're increasing the number of missiles being launched. So I think that this is going to continue on. I'm not seeing any indications of either side seeking an off-ramp, and I think that we should basically continue to watch this as it evolves and develops and see where both sides can ultimately take this conflict.
As you know, to start a war, it's easy. And apparently Israel, for years, for decades, has been building towards that kind of first beginning of the war. The more we know, the more it appears to be brilliant in so many of its tactical aspects, including beyond just the immediate things. But to bring it to some kind of termination, to try to de-escalate, it's not that easy. So I think the combination of Putin and Trump is, in principle, a good one to try to force both sides to de-escalation. Yes.
This is going to go as long as it has to go in terms of Israel's set goal to degrade Iran's nuclear program to such a level that they do not feel the existential threat that's been hanging over them for decades, actually, and calls by Iranian leaders, one after another, for the complete destruction of Israel. So Israel's in this for the long haul. How long Iran is willing to continue to be retaliating and firing back at the Israelis and hitting, civilian infrastructure within Israel, and then take the hits from Israel on now its energy sector, which of course will cause great harm to Iran's economic situation. So this is really, I don't see an end in sight right now, certainly.